Excellent. I finally finished my painstaking analysis. Oh yeah!
Well, here's the full review, guys. I know it's taken me a while, but trust me, it was necessary. This game is a weird one, considering I love Zelda, but am a complete newbie when it comes to the Musou genre. So at first, looking at this game, I was like, why in the hell would I want to play this? I did not even give Age of Calamity the time of day at first, but boy, am I glad I did. It's definitely a unique experience, and you can tell that Koei Tecmo put a lot of care into making the game. It's a shame that they didn't care as much about the frame rate, which is the biggest con of this game, but we'll get into that in a little bit. First off, let's talk about the story. Honestly, I think it's really well done, but that's not to say I liked it. I told you guys in the demo review I wasn't going to be a fan if they changed things up and decided to go alternate universe on our asses, and well, that's exactly what they did. So, I really enjoyed the first Breath of the Wild because of how dark of a Zelda it is. I mean, you failed to defeat Calamity Ganon and everybody got killed and Zelda's trapped, and 100 years later Link's walking around a ruined Hyrule with amnesia, going, where'd everybody go? Bingo? Like, that's some depressing ass shit, but with Age of Calamity, everything's Disney-fied. Yeah, that's the term I like to use nowadays when a story pulls some kiddie shit. I don't know, call me crazy, but I could have used some higher stakes in the story here, especially considering that I was hyped for this to be canon, only to figure out, well, they just kinda said it was canon to generate more sales. Like, honestly, this game is going to have nothing to do with Breath of the Wild 2, so if you're buying it for that reason, don't. But that's not to say I don't think the story was delivered well. The cutscenes are killer. Half the time I thought I was watching The Legend of Zelda the anime. I mean, just look at this shit. Like, damn. Half the time I was playing the game just so I could see Link go Plus Ultra on some villains' asses. The voice acting, though, could really use some work. Why does the freaking Zora King sound like Yoda?
One condition. You must promise to come back safely.
It's not terrible, but it's not really that great either. The story itself is cut up into battles that take place across the Breath of the Wild world map. If you've played Breath of the Wild, you're going to recognize a lot of the areas in the game. Fighting within areas 100 years before the fall is pretty cool. There's a lot of, oh, I've been there before, and oh, Fort Hateno, I remember this play, oh my god. With the familiar areas, though, come a lot of familiar faces. Impa's in the game, albeit a lot younger than how she was portrayed in Breath of the Wild, which is pretty cool. You got Daruk, the Gerudo chick, this douchebag, and they're all playable within the game. There's actually so much character variety here, it's insane. You can unlock the monk, you know, at the end of those shrines in Breath of the Wild, as a freaking playable character, and one of his moves summons a freaking shrine. Do I really need to convince you guys to go out and like, come on, what am I even doing here? All the characters play differently as well. Sure, there are going to be some similarities between how you do your combos when you got this many characters within the game, but seriously, the first time playing with some of these characters, I sucked complete ass. There's definitely a learning curve when it comes to getting used to a character's moveset, and I think that's a very good thing. However, I felt that Link was the most fun to play by far, and I'm not just saying that because he's Link. He has a variety of different weapon types at his disposal for starters. You can go two-handed sword, sword and shield, or even a spear, and each weapon for Link has completely different movesets. So honestly, Link is like 4 characters in one. And he's got the Master Sword. Come on, who's not going to play Link? As for the gameplay itself, I think it's pretty fun. I was playing on the hardest difficulty, and I definitely had to get used to enemy movesets and patterns in order to get past some of these bosses. However, I didn't particularly feel I had to strategize where to place allies on the map and, you know, defend enemy strongholds until close to the end of the game. Half the time I'd just run around the map with Link like a Kuko with its head cut off, going around killing everything, because I didn't really want to use anybody else. During combat, though, you have to use runes and react fast to dispose of enemies quickly. If an enemy starts charging you, you want to use Cryonis to counter, or bombs, or stasis, depending on the situation. This will reveal their weak point gauge, which you can then attack until it's depleted completely, allowing you a critical hit which wreaks havoc on your enemy's health bar. It's a pretty cool system and can be super rewarding when you get good enough to whittle their weak point gauge down into an almost continuous combo, never even giving your enemy the chance to get up to even attack you. There's also a lot of room for experimentation here within the combat. For example, you can use the stasis rune once you've exposed an enemy's weak point gauge to keep them vulnerable for longer so that you can get that critical hit in that much faster. I didn't figure out that you could do this until damn near the end of the game, and it's not like Age of Calamity tells you that you're able to do that. I had to figure it out myself by just messing around and seeing how efficient I could be. That's a very good thing for a combat system to have, as it means the combat has depth. I did find that Age of Calamity was ill-suited for fighting multiple enemies on the screen at the same time. So if you're engaging more than one enemy at one time, good luck. You're almost certainly getting hit by an attack you couldn't see off screen because you're too focused on the guy in front of you. And that's neglecting the fact that the enemies practically have two gauges you have to deal with, and it can be tough to go on the offensive when you're so focused on trying not to get wombo comboed. Especially on higher difficulties where one hit you might as well just restart the whole thing over. You can always divide and conquer since fighting multiple enemies at the same time probably isn't a good idea anyway, it's just annoying when the game forces you into those situations. The camera too can be a problem at times. Sometimes you'll be sandwiched between a rock and a hard place. Literally, all I can see is the rock Talus's ass crack before I go flying across the screen with 2 hearts left. Whenever this happens, it's infuriating, but most of the time, the camera is pretty cooperative. There's also a lot of side content here to enjoy, with conditions set making it harder to complete. Like, there's one quest where it requires you to use two-handed weapons only, or you can only get hit once, and if you're not a fan of that type of difficulty curve, you can completely ignore it. If you guys get me to 600 subs, I can't ignore it, but I'm gonna shut up for right now. There's also some endgame content that I have yet to complete, and I've been playing the game for 30 hours. One thing I gotta say that I enjoy about Nintendo's games is that the endgame content within them is usually pretty spectacular. So if you're worried about Age of Calamity being a short experience, don't worry, you will get your money's worth. You can also pilot divine beasts in Age of Calamity, and it's actually pretty friggin' awesome. The only problem is the novelty of it wears off pretty quickly. At first it's like, holy shit, this is awesome, I'm crushing them like ants, and then it's like, alright, I'm over this, put me back on the ground. I want to play as Link. Part of the reason I think it's hard to enjoy these sections though, is the frame rate, which is the main reason it's hard for me to even fully recommend Age of Calamity. The performance was bad in the demo, and whoo boy, it's terrible in the full release. If there's a lot happening on screen, the Switch simply cannot handle it. Sometimes I felt like it was gonna explode, I'm gonna be honest. I even had someone in the comments of my demo review telling me that they're returning the full game because the frame rate was so bad. Some levels perform better than others though. It's a shame because again, the game itself holds up pretty well. There's a lot here for Zelda fans to enjoy, and like I said, I've already put in 30 hours into the game and I don't even really feel like stopping. I'd say if you just can't get enough of the Zelda universe and need more Breath of the Wild in your life, then this game is a definite buy. Otherwise, maybe wait for a price drop. At $30, this game would be a steal. Then again, Nintendo never decreases their prices, so you might be waiting a while. If I had to put a number on this game, I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5. If the performance issues weren't so bad, easily would be a 4. It's just hard to recommend to people when the frame rate is struggling to stay above 20 FPS. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. At the end of the day, you guys can do whatever you want to do. I just hope you enjoyed the review, and if you did, go ahead and let me know by hitting that like button and sub for more quick reviews content in the future. Again, if we hit 600 subs a week after I post this video, then I'll do an Age of Calamity live stream trying to 100% this game. I don't know if you guys want me to go through that torture, I'll do it. I'm a maniac. So let's try to hit that sub goal, make it happen, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.